Welcome back into the Sean podcast. I'm the Big Ush. This is the Cat Daddy. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
I don't think it is well with my picks last week as I wanted to. And I'm going to redeem myself this week. We're going to have a better week with picks. Much better week.
My picks weren't too bad, except for that Chargers Texans one. What in the world happened there? Anyways, jumping right into it. I'm gonna update you on the awards, which won't take too long because this late in the year we got things worked all the way out. Cat Daddy, we're gonna start with Offensive Player of the Year. Any changes?
Slight change.
Slight change.
Yep. Number 1, still Jonathan Taylor. Looking at stats for rushing yards, he's clearly, obviously, number 1. And it's about 450 yards until you get to the second place.
We know. And he's trying to get that LT touchdown record,
Yeah, he's not getting that one. Not a chance. Number 2 is Cooper Kupp. Even with Matthew Stafford doesn't want to play well, Cooper Kupp still gets his. Still continuing this historic season, and I really hope that Cooper Kupp breaks any and all records that he needs to this week.
I just want to get the Triple Crown.
I hope it happens this week with any records, because I don't want there to be that question of it took him a 17th game to beat Calvin Johnson.
I got you.
So I want it to happen this week.
So number 3s were the changes.
Yeah, not Austin Eckler. He missed some time. He was out this past game. And my 4th place guy had what I thought was a really good game overall. While Joe Burrow's busy throwing 525 yards and 4 touchdowns. And, the wide receivers are getting all the credit. Oh, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. My guy Joe Mixon sneaks in with 2 touchdowns, like the quietest 2 touchdowns ever. So Joe Mixon moves up to my number 3 spot, and he has just been so good this year with running, getting involved in the passing game, staying healthy.
All right, so mine has changed a little bit too. All right, obviously, Jonathan Taylor, enough said. Cooper Kupp, enough said. But number 3, man, Josh Allen, goodness, doing with his arm, doing with his legs. This dude's been legit all year long. He had a little bit of a low tier, but consistently this guy's been a monster. All right, moving on. Defensive Player of the Year, any changes?
No, this week it's still the same 3. It's TJ Watts, it's Myles Garrett, it's Nick Bosa. They're all in that order. So it was a slow week for my top 3. None of them really made a dent statistically, but they all created pressures on some of the opportunities that they had. And Micah Parsons is getting really close to cracking this top 3.
All right, so mine has changed. Myles Garrett's still at 1. Micah Parsons is still at 2. And then I'm putting TJ Watt back in because TJ Watt did do a little bit, not a lot, but he did do a little bit where Nick Bosa was relatively quiet. I know he had some pressures, but he was relatively quiet against an offensive line that hasn't been that great this year. Next up, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Any changes?
Yeah, I got the same 3, but they're in a slightly different order. I have a new number 1, and I know, but he has become one of the more consistent offensive skill players this year on a weekly basis, and it's Jalen Waddle with the Miami Dolphins. He's my new number 1. Number 2 is Jamar Chase. He recorded his first 100-yard game since that epic 200-yard game earlier in the season, which also happened to come against the Baltimore Ravens. So, that's great for Cincinnati. He's like a Raven killer. He's going to have good games against that Baltimore defense. That's going to be good for some long-term division rivalry there. And then I have Mac Jones really, really on the border of that number 3 spot. He's in danger of falling out of my top 3, and it's not because of the win-loss record and not getting the wins. It's because he just hasn't looked very good playing lately.
All right, so mine haven't changed. It is Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Mac Jones. Mac Jones, I ain't got much to say about because he hasn't really done much. I will say, thinking back now, Jamar Chase, we might have been underestimating Jamar Chase's impact because we had those couple weeks where he wasn't really putting up numbers, and I know he had that one game where he had some drops, but in some of those other games, so when Jamar Chase was doing his thing, what happened? Most likely coverage started rolling more, maybe some double coverage over to Jamar Chase, and when you're not the Green Bay Packers or the Kansas City Chiefs, and you have a guy that is the only player you want to get the ball to, when you have other wide receivers who are kind of studs like T. Higgins and, Tyler Boyd, you're going to start throwing to those guys because those guys are going to have single coverage. And I'm guessing that's more. I have to go back to check to confirm, but I'm thinking that's more what happened to Jamar Chase, which more cements him, for me, as the Rookie of the Year. It's not just about numbers. It's also about the impact that you put for a team. Jalen Waddle, he's a close number 2 because the guy does impact his team. He is on the team where they want to get him the ball all the time because they don't want to target anybody else, and that's fine. All right, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Sean. Unless you want to get some thoughts on my theory there.
We'll see what next week brings. Well, we'll continue this debate. Don't worry. Don't worry. The Defensive Rookie of the Year, just give it to Micah Parsons. Just, what are we waiting for?
Fair enough. All right. Some other standout rookies. You still got Patrick Surtain II, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. You got Odafe Owe. You got Javon Holland, Jalen Phillips. There's other rookies doing stuff on the defensive side of the ball. It's just Micah looks like a grown ass man. All right, next up, let's get our coaches out of the way.
All right, this is Coach of the Year, right?
Who's your Coach of the Year? Yes, or your Coach of the Year candidates?
All right, for me, it's the same as last week, the same order. Matt LaFleur, number 1 with Green Bay. Bill Belichick, number 2, New England. Number 3, Mike McCarthy with Dallas.
So mine, I have a different list right now. So Bill Belichick is still my number 1. I'm sorry, even with the loss, what he's done with his team is next to insane. Then I'm gonna go Mike McCarthy with the Dallas Cowboys. He has somehow managed this team so well that this is one of the deepest teams in the league. And then my number 3, Matt LaFleur with the Green Bay Packers. What are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
I'm glad you have him in your top 3 this week.
He is in my top 3. I could not, within good conscience, keep Cliff Kingsbury in my top 3 with how it's gone. And now with that, see, I know they've had issues, but at the same time, they still have Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is football god. But at the same time,
is this a segue into our MVPs?
They are winning through adversity, and I will give him that. No, we're going to do MVP after we do coaching hot seats.
Ooh.
So, Sean, has your list changed?
Yes, it's changed.
All right.
Number one is still the same as last week. Matt Nagy. Yep, you gotta win. Doesn't matter, because if winning this game saves your career or saves you for another season, then the ownership of the Chicago Bears is blind, because even with this game, even with this victory, you're just not getting it done in Chicago.
All right, who's up next?
Number 2, Matt Rule, Carolina Panthers.
I'm not going to argue it.
he insists that Carolina is heading in the right direction, and I'm
What
not
direction's that?
sure anybody sees it the same way that he does,
I
especially
mean,
the
are we
Carolina
talking about the
fans.
ACC song or
Chanting to,
ACDC song?
yeah. He did reference Jay-Z that it took Jay-Z 7 years, and I don't think Carolina's going to give him 7 years to get his act together. He
Oh,
got
I'm
rid of
sorry.
Joe Brady, but Joe Brady apparently wasn't the problem.
I mean, that quarterback, but you know. Number 3.
Denver Bronco Vic Fangio started the season out 3-0. Since then, he's gone 4-8, and pretty much his team is mathematically still alive for the playoffs, but it's really an uphill battle for this point. But for me, he's not going to get done against the division. These
get you.
past 3 years, he is 5-11 against the AFC West.
I get
That's
you.
not enough.
I understand that one, even though I would argue that, in essence, he has had them competitive. He has done a lot of his part of the job, but that quarterback position, which you can blame partly on the GM, isn't
Well,
there.
part of that head coaching thing is winning, so
That, the GM thing is getting the proper pieces for those quarterbacks. I mean, for those coaches, I'm saying. And one of the major piece for that quarterback coach is the quarterback, and they ain't got it. But I understand where you're coming from. Now, mine has changed also, and I'm going to explain why a certain name wasn't on yours and he's not going to be on mine, because the people need to know, because they're probably screaming at us about a certain name that wasn't on either of our lists. 2 names, I will say. So, first one, Matt Nagy. Enough said. I've said a lot. I don't need to think I need to say more. Now, before I get into my other 2, Joe Judge has already apparently been noted that he's coming back. So we can't put him on the hot seat list, because these are actually predicted lists. And when we know someone's coming back, what's the point? That being said, talking out the side of my mouth here, I know David Culley's probably not going to be back, but I think he should. I think he's actually done a lot with a roster that's not the greatest. I honestly think that the Houston Texans need to bring David Culley back and see what this team can do. That being said, we're going to go to other guys. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Sean, but that's my thoughts.
David Culley, if they're keeping Davis Mills, if they're not going after a quarterback in the offseason, whether it's free agency, trading, drafting, if they're staying with Davis Mills as their starting quarterback, then yeah, keeping
No.
David Culley
How
as
many
your head
wins
coach.
did you say was a success for David Culley?
Oh, I said if he got 5 wins, he'd get my vote for Coach of the Year. He's pushing. He's got 4 so far.
He's got
so
4, so
he's going to be at number
it's-
1 on my Coach of the Year list pretty soon if this keeps up.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right. So my coaches that are jumping on the hot seat. Next up is Pete Carroll. How many wins do those Seattle Seahawks have?
5.
This was a playoff team last year. This was a playoff team that can't even beat the Bears in a snow game. The Bears starting their 3rd string quarterback. I don't care if it's Nick Foles. I'm sorry. Things are catching up to Pete Carroll. They are catching up, and this has not looked good. All right. Okay. They say, who's next? My next one is Ron Rivera, and I got some numbers for you that you might not know. All right. So Ron Rivera's been a head coach in the NFL for 11 years, right? Okay, Sean, you got that?
Yep.
Guess how many winning seasons he's had in the NFL?
In 11 seasons, I would guess 3.
3.
Yes.
3. He's on pace to have another losing season in the NFL. That doesn't get it done. Do we have another Jeff Fisher here?
It's funny because Ron Rivera actually made the playoffs. I think it was 2014 with a losing record. I think he was 7-8-1 that season. Snuck into the playoffs. Crazy.
Last year, they made the playoffs with a losing record.
See, maybe that's a skill right there. Being able to take a losing team to the playoffs. That's a skill.
That's not a skill. But at the same time, for some of the arguments that you've made for some of these other guys at some of these times, Ron Rivera he's a defensive guy. The Washington football team's defense is not good. They also have crappy quarterback play from mismanagement of quarterback. All this bundles up to me, hot seat. All right, next up, let's do MVP. Any changes?
Let's see. No, looks like mine are same people, same order. Aaron Rodgers number 1, Tom Brady number 2, Jonathan Taylor number 3.
Mine has changed. Aaron Rodgers is number 1. Jonathan Taylor has moved up to number 2. And Tom Brady's number 3.
Ah, yes, winning in spite of Carson Wentz. Yes.
All right, next up, your bottom 3 teams. Have anything changed?
Yes. Number 1 is still the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your play has become more encouraging since Urban Meyer's departure, but you still look like you're drafting the number 1 overall pick in a few months for the 2nd consecutive year. So, yep, you're still dead last.
Still bad.
Yep. Number 2, speaking of still bad, the New York football playing Giants.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. You're bringing back Judge and Daniel Jones.
John's getting them for other decisions.
I mean, they're playing the field, yes, but then you're bringing back Judge and Daniel Jones. Like, I'm imagining Joe Judge is going to be on the hot seat next year around week 2 when New York starts 0-2.
All right, and who's the last one?
And then 3rd is the New York High-Flying Jets. Yes, you just beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, but guess what? It's the Jacksonville Jaguars, and beating them doesn't really count. So, they still have a bad roster.
That New York media market must be crying right now.
Oh, I'm sure they're crying about Joe Judge and Daniel Jones, but yeah.
All right, mine has changed. Yes. I have Jacksonville, last team, worst roster in the league. That's all I gotta say. Detroit, to your best efforts, you still no. I know you won 2 games. Good for you. Good for you. You're still bad. And then those New York Jets. I know. I get it. Y'all won a game. Good. That's all I got to say.
Who was it against?
Exactly.
Who?
All right, next up. Sean, your top teams.
Number 1 team is Green Bay. Yes, you've had a rough 2 weeks escaping with victory, surviving against
dirty wins are still
Baltimore and
wins.
Cleveland, but win's a win.
No, dirty wins are still wins. You can win ugly, you can win pretty, doesn't matter because that W is the same.
Exactly.
A pretty loss is still a loss.
It absolutely is, and pretty losses don't help you get the bye week in the playoffs because now there's only one of those per conference. So Green Bay's in the driver's seat for that one. Man, number 2 for me is Kansas City.
Yep.
They are just
playing really good football.
Man, they are. Early in the season, I'm like, man, we got to hit the panic button. If I'm Andy Reid, I got to have some talks in that locker room. But they have certainly turned it around. So they're looking good offensively, not as consistently as last year, but still looking good. Defensively, much improved. And number 3 for me, that team from Arlington, Texas, or Irving, Texas.
Ooh.
The Dallas Cowboys. I know.
Ooh, look
You
at
just
you.
you just put up a 50 burger on Washington, right? But for me, it was seeing the offense playing up to, I
I
suppose, the
told you.
standard that they should be playing, and then
I
your
told you. I
defense
told
just
you it was
crushing.
coming. I told you it was coming. People didn't. People were this, and that. I said that it's not a slump. They're just,
Don't call it a
waiting, buying
comeback.
time.
They've been here for weeks.
Anyways, I'm not gonna waste any time. My three are exactly the same as his. Sean copied my notes. Next up, we're gonna go right into the games. So we're gonna start with um, the Falcons traveling to Buffalo. Buffalo favored by 14 and a half. I don't know about that spread, but I'm taking Buffalo.
Yep, I got Buffalo as well. It's in Atlanta, or no, it's in Buffalo, which just makes it even better.
Next game, we got the New York Football Giants traveling to Chicago. Chicago's favored by 6. That is way too much, but Chicago does win this game.
Got Chicago with the win. It feels strange because I don't think I've picked Chicago to win many times this year, if any times.
Who's playing quarterback for the Giants? Who's playing quarterback?
He's playing quarterback for the Bears.
This is true. Fair enough. All right, next up, we got KC traveling to Cincinnati. KC's favored by 5. I do have KC winning, but I think this game's going to be closer than what people think.
I got Kansas City as well. It's gonna be a nice matchup between Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. I want to see what offense comes out for Cincinnati. Is it gonna be the same Joe Burrow that threw for 500? Zach Taylor gonna dial up that offense, or are they gonna rely on Joe Mixon and the run game? I'm hoping they come out with a pass though.
All right, next up, we got the Dolphins traveling to Tennessee to face those Titans. Favored by 3.5. The Titans are. I'm taking the Dolphins.
Man, see, now you're reading my notes because I got the Dolphins.
All right, next up, we have the Raiders traveling to Indy to face those Colts. I don't know who's playing quarterback. This is a difficult one. Still taking Indy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback because all they have to do is just turn around, hand off left, hand off right. I got Indianapolis in this one too.
Next up, we have the Jaguars traveling to Gillette to face those Patriots. Patriots favored by 15.5 or 15, I think. I'm taking the Patriots plus.
You going for the spread too?
Yup.
Ooh. I don't
15 and
know.
a half. That's what it's 15 and a half.
How many rookie quarterbacks is Trevor Lawrence going to play this year? He's played most of them. And they still have only, 2 wins in the season? Bill Belichick historically plays very well against rookie quarterbacks, and considering the state of this Jaguars roster, I don't see them being any challenge for the Patriots. And even though Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent, it's not showing up this year,
Stop.
and it's not going to show up in this game. Give me the Patriots.
All right, next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to New York.
Do we really gotta say what our answer is? Like, do we really gotta verbalize our pick?
Not really. Not really. Bucks are going to win. But you never know.
Tampa Bay, just for the record, Tampa Bay. Moving on.
The Eagles are traveling to Landover, Maryland to face those Washington football team. Eagles.
Ugh, I don't like this game. Eagles, yeah.
Oh,
Bless you. Bless you.
oh wow. Woo!
See, you're allergic to the NFC East and the Eagles and the Washington football team.
Ain't that the truth? Now we have the LA Rams traveling to Baltimore, face those Ravens. I'm going to take the Rams. Baltimore's got too many injuries this year. This is a wash year for them.
It is. I got the right, but I don't know who's going to start for the Baltimore Ravens. It certainly becomes more interesting if it's Lamar Jackson.
I still think the Rams win.
But I got the Rams in this one, yeah.
Next up, we have the Denver Broncos traveling to LA to face the Chargers. Chargers are favored by 5.5. I don't like this game, especially with what I saw from the Chargers last week. I'm going to take the Chargers, but I don't feel good about it.
I feel more confident in the Chargers. If they have Joey Bosa back, if they have other members of their defensive line back, it's going to help slow down that Denver rushing attack, which can become dangerous. However, if Denver's rolling out Drew Lock, which I believe they will, he is already hurting the Denver run game because the Chargers may not be able to fear his arm, and they're just going to pack the box.
Maybe.
They're just going to do, what happened with the Raiders, where it's like, okay, well, we're going to stop your run game. You go ahead and beat us with your throwing. Good luck.
All right, so next up we have the Texans traveling to Santa Clara to face the Niners. Don't know who's playing quarterback for the Niners. Don't care. The Niners are going to win.
I have
Cully going to become coach of the year here.
I have hesitancy now when it comes to the Houston Texans. I know they've gotten 2 of their wins against Jacksonville, so you can wipe those 2 up.
Who are the other 2 against, though?
The Chargers and goodness, who did they get?
Was it Tennessee?
Yes, it was Tennessee. But Tennessee was also self-destructing at that point, which is almost like San Francisco with Jimmy Garoppolo in there. Oh, I don't feel as confident as I want to about it, but I'm going with San Francisco.
Next up, we have the Panthers traveling to New Orleans to face the Saints. Hopefully, the Saints get one of their quarterbacks back, and I got the Saints winning this game.
It's hard to pick the Carolina Panthers.
It really is.
But it's also hard to pick the Saints if they're rolling with Ian Book again.
They better not be. They better put Blake Bortles out there.
Because if it comes down to like Cam Newton versus Ian Book, I might have to just say, you know what, let's just have the defenses go one-on-one. Let's just have New Orleans Saint defense.
Which running game is going to be better?
Well, I want to say the Saints because of Alvin Kamara, but we saw how well that worked against Miami because...
But Miami's a better team than Carolina.
Oh, defense, though. Defense?
Defensive-wise, Miami's a better team.
But it's close. It's not like there's a big gap between... You don't think Carolina's...
No, I don't.
The defense, like, we're just talking defense.
Right. And I still think Miami is superior to Carolina.
Well, this one's going to come back and bite me. I know it, so I'm going to pick Carolina.
All right. Next, we have the Lions going to Seattle to face the Seahawks. This is the one I struggle with. I think I'm taking the Lions.
I got the Lions too, and I don't feel good about it. All I know is that Seattle is a mess right now.
Extremely. Next up, one thing I forgot to say about that Bears-Giants matchup. The Giants want to win that game.
Oh yeah, because if Chicago loses, that means their draft pick from the Bears becomes even better.
Right.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Vikings Sunday Night Football against the Packers in Green Bay. I got Green Bay taking revenge here, even though Kirk Cousins seemingly plays the Pack really well.
While he may, it's going to be a Sunday night game, Lambeau Field. Temperatures are going to be close to 0. I think the low is going to be like 2 degrees, so Kirk Cousins better get used to throwing ice cubes out there. But Green Bay's got this.
Better hope Dalvin Cook comes off of COVID.
Shut. Well, Green Bay's got this.
I agree. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns going to Pittsburgh to face those Steelers. I got Cleveland. They're going to run all over those Steelers.
This is a really tough one because you're thinking, as bad as Pittsburgh's playing, it's a divisional game. Anything can happen. The Browns aren't playing any better, and I've already said that this is going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season, and right now they're 7-1, so one more victory will technically give Mike Tomlin a winning season. I just can't have that, so I gotta go Cleveland.
All right. That's all she wrote.
Whoa, that's
for
not all
this
she
week.
wrote. That's not all.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. When I look at this, I always, it's the way my ESPN is set up. All right. We got one more game. Arizona's traveling to Irving, Texas to face the Dallas Cowboys. I'm taking the Cowboys. The Cowboys have won 4 in a row. Yes, people say, well, they've not been good teams. Well, these not good teams have beaten teams that are good, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, the Cardinals have not looked as great as they did early in the year. The Cowboys' defense has been looking like very nasty, while the offense looks to be coming back. Taking the Cowboys.
I've got the Arizona Cardinals losing this game. So
Give me your reasonings.
the offense just doesn't look good without DeAndre Hopkins. The defense doesn't look good without J.J. Watts. Arizona does not look like a playoff caliber team.
Agreed. All right, that's all she wrote, folks. We're going to get at you on our next episode.